All right, hey, welcome back to another edition of the Shoe In Show, the world's greatest footwear industry podcast. And, you know, Sandy, you're my co-host today, and I wanted you in on this conversation because, one, you're the fearless leader of the Shoes for a Cure initiative. We've raised $65 million for breast cancer research over the life of the initiative. And one of the things that we do is we have this pop-up shop in Chelsea Market. And on the back right-hand wall of the shop is this yellow wall of shoe boxes, and it's Timberland boots. So all the dudes migrate there, I'm included, and it's just such a cool visualization of how Timberland supports the initiative. And so I wanted to bring in our guest today to talk about what's going on at Timberland. Why do they do things like, you know, what they do with us at Shoes for Cure, and maybe some cool collabs are out there. So who's our guest today?
Today, our guest is Gautham Rao, VP and General Manager of Americas for Timberland. We're thrilled to have you on with us today. I know you're somewhat new to the role, and we're excited about all the energy that you're bringing to Timberland. But before we begin with some questions for you, why don't you share a little bit about your shoe story and how you entered the footwear world?
Well, thank you guys for having me here. 65 million is a huge outcome, and that's great to hear. And keep buying those Tims. That's really important. Okay, so I'm Gautham. I've been in Timberland for about 9 months now. So I can't say that I'm new, but I'm going to use it as an excuse as much as I can. Actually, my start for shoes, my shoe story is an interesting one. I grew up in Dubai. I'm Indian, but I grew up in Dubai before Dubai was all cool and sexy like you see it now. When I grew up in Dubai, it was mostly,
you made it cool and sexy.
Yeah, I think it started once I left. I think that's basically how the outcome really turned out. And I got a cool opportunity to come to the States when I was 17 years for college. And I came to Wisconsin. I chose Wisconsin primarily because I didn't know anything about Wisconsin. I thought, let's go try something completely different.
You threw a darn at the map. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I really did. This is like aging me. I was pulling up an atlas and looking at where Wisconsin was, and I knew it was near Chicago, and that's about it. And all I knew about was there was going to be a lot of snow, which I had never seen before. And there was going to be a lot of beer, which I had never had before. And so now I've had a lot of snow and beer in my time. And so I moved to Wisconsin. And when I came to Wisconsin, I was a fan of hip hop, and hip hop is a global phenomenon. And was part of that. I grew up listening to, Run DMC and Tupac, and, Biggie was part of my life at that point in time. And I came over, and it was cold, man. It was cold in Wisconsin. It was fall. It was cold. And my roommates looked at the shoes I bought from Dubai and was like, hey, man, we got to take you shoe shopping. Went to a nearby mall, and what did I see? I saw a pair of Tims. And I kid you not, it's not because I'm in this job right now, but for 5 years straight, I was in college for 5 years. In 5 years straight, I wore nothing but Tims. And I wore Tims for everything. For interviews, Tims. To go out and hang out with people, Tims. If there was a presentation in the college, Tims. It was a formal get-together, Tims. We actually have a family photo with my parents fully dressed up, like all Indian clothing, super formal. My sister's all nice, all dressed up. I'm wearing a tie and a white shirt, pair of chinos, just really formal. And in the bottom, what you can see, they were trying to hide me. At the bottom of this photo, it's massive. It's probably about 4 feet tall.
Whoa.
And the bottom of this photo is my Tims, just sticking out. So that's actually started off the journey. I linked it up to culture at that point in time. It was part of my identity. And when I got this role 9 months ago, and I let people know about it, all my college roommates started pinging me, just giving me help, being like, dude, did you ever give up your Tims? Like, is this it? You just come back full circle. So that's when my journey really started. And from there, I've always been a sneakerhead. I've always loved footwear. Started off my career at Target as in retail, went to Nike, was there for almost 8 years. Went to REI, was part of the outdoor space and hiking and footwear there as well. And now it's in a brand that I truly admire.
You are the perfect guy for this job, Gautham. I mean, to hear that story, it sounds like you did bring cool with you from Dubai. If you're rocking Tims at formal Indian gathering, I mean, that to me seems super cool. You're part, we all know Timberland's the part of the VF family, right? Talk to us about how you interplay with your brand partners across the other footwear brands within the VF family, and what makes Timberland unique in that? Talk about family gatherings, right? What's that dynamic like? Timberland versus Vans versus some of the other brands.
Yeah, we call ourselves the third brother of the entire brand portfolio, or third sister, depending on how you ask. We have Vans and North Face also part of that portfolio ourselves, and then there's emerging brands like Ultra, Smartwool, and then our Packs business is massive globally. Timberland is a unique beast in this entire family. We're predominantly footwear. We're a footwear brand that dabbles in apparel, and then we're connected to a lot of culture in Americas. So if you think about the start of our brand, we start off in New Hampshire. There's a cool story where they took over leftover leather, they put it in a toilet to see if it was waterproof or not, and then it's been part of. I'm not kidding. And it's
and then a kid from Dubai was wearing the same shoes from the toilet in a family.
That's where I leave it overnight. Just leave it in the toilet to make sure it's waterproof still, and that's how I run my business. And then it really took off in the 90s with hip hop. And Bracken, and that's the reason why I joined it, was Bracken, our CEO, he talks about, and he said his quote, and I'm not pandering to him, so if he ever watches this, I'm not pandering to you, Bracken. But he said a quote that I really like, which is, corporations don't own brands, culture does. And I think that's synonymous with Timberland. We're part of culture, we're part of hip hop, we're part of craftsmanship. We're bringing the New England values, which is like no nonsense, no BS. We just get stuff done, and that's part of our DNA, and that's kind of how we express ourselves with that portfolio.
That's awesome. You really are having quite a comeback moment. I know that word sometimes is a little dirty of a comeback, but you really are having this cool vibe and buzz and excitement around some of the new initiatives that you're having this year. So I'd love it if you could share what you can, at least with our listeners, about some of the cool collabs that are working and some that might be in the works. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, Timberland's VF in general has a whole bunch of new leadership, and Timberland's not alone with that, right? So we have a global brand president, Nina, who's been in VF for 20 plus years. She has a strong background in marketing. That's where she came up from. We got a new CMO, Maisie, that's also come in and really put a stamp into trying to drive a lot of brand heat and make us relevant in this market. And that started off with that Louis Vuitton collab we had last year, which was basically on fire, put us back on the map. I think it's interesting. Comeback is a really interesting statement because the reality is, like, Timberland never really goes away. It's always part of like a staple. If you live in New York or live in the Northeast, I think it's like, what do you have in your closet? It's going to be a pair of Timbs, right? So it made us relevant again for younger consumers. It made us relevant again in the community and part of culture. It made us a talking point. You could wear Timbs are pretty versatile. You could again wear it with your Indian clothes, or you can wear it with a tuxedo, or you can wear it with whatever. And I think that made us relevant in that space. And then once that kicked off, we had an iconic campaign that kicked off with, the Rough Riders going through New York, and you had celebrities stopping over at our stores. Spike Lee stopped over and got a pair of Timbs with his customization as part of it. So that amplified the heat. And then we brought in a lot of SMUs. It was the 30 years of Biggie. We brought that back in with our partners in Foot Locker. We talked about Super Boot, which is like, let's see, I probably have a quote here. Let me do some show and tell. But our Super Boot.
That's beautiful.
The espresso pack. Beautiful, beautiful shoes. Again, showing off our craftsmanship, but yet staying true to who we are. We're not really going to create basketball Timbs or anything like that, right? But we're going to stay true to where we are. And I think those are the ways we've amplified our heat throughout the. And I can't share too much, but we are going to continue that this year.
And you don't need a lot
of collabs planned.
Yeah, you don't need to create the basketball Timberlands because off the court, those players are wearing Timberlands, right? So
exactly,
for sure, it's part of the culture. And at Shoes for a Cure at the pop-up at Chelsea Market that Matt had mentioned before, there was a lot of buzz the first year, but this past year they were like lining up and they were ready to go, and they were buying the red Timbs and not just kind of the ones and the black ones
Yeah.
that weren't neutral ones. They were looking for the red ones, and I mean, they were just grabbing them. So I could tell that, you know, there was a newborn excitement around the brand, and some of those collabs I definitely feel like have created the heat that you're talking about.
You know, absolutely. I think it's just, if we're with the right partners, when we tell the right stories, and we talk to the consumer without being pretentious, I think we have a winner there, right? We're not a brand that's going to overextend ourselves. We're not going to try to show off in any ways. And I think that authenticity is what keeps us hot in the market. And so we're going to continue pushing that all the way through this year.
So, Gautham, let me ask you a question around 2025 and what your expectations are. And I think you would be totally cool if I shared this, but we had a meeting, the three of us, just off, talking about business and not shoe and show stuff. Yeah. And we were talking about this cautiously optimistic mantra. And you said something that literally has been, Sandy and I have already used in other meetings. I'm totally transparent with you. What's that mantra, and is that mantra that we'll coin as the Gautham mantra, is that being applied in your view to 2025?
Absolutely. I'm paranoid and positive is for sure the way I'm looking at it. I mean, we have a lot of tailwinds, right? Our brand is hot. We've done a lot of studies for our consumers, and we know we're underserving communities right now. There's a lot, like we have less than 10 full price stores in the entire country. So if you think about the opportunity we have of just being in the spaces where consumers go and try to find us, I think there's a lot we can do there. In the digital space, we've started elevating our homepages. We started elevating how our brand comes to life. And you can see on our website, we're being a lot more engaging with our consumer. And so there's a lot of plus sides there. We have some cool product coming on that we're going to use our wholesale partners to storytell around. And we're partnered with them, right? We don't want a transactional relationship with wholesalers. I don't think that's a way for success. We're not going to shove too much space in there. I've always told wholesalers, like our partners, that, you know what, we want to be the most profitable space, square footage in your entire store. And that's going to be our mantra all the way through. But we also know there's a lot of headwinds. There are certain things that I'm going to keep an eye on. There's consumer confidence and all the macro trends that go part of it. The tariffs, thank you guys for all the work you guys are doing, but we're keeping an eye on that really closely, right? We don't want our costs to go up. We don't want prices to go up, and we don't want to have that being reflected onto our consumer. And then there's the overall industry. So our overall industry and all my peers that are out there, we've gone through a roller coaster since COVID, where you had a high in 2020, 2021, and then you had the lows where you had too much inventory build up, and now all of a sudden you're discounting, and then how do you get out of the discounting circle? We want all the big brands to be healthy, because as long as their big brands are healthy, we are healthy. Nike demand goes up, our demand goes up, Ultra's demand, like everybody goes up together.
Rising tide.
And so, ride the tide. Yeah, exactly. And we need everybody to be healthy. We need everybody to continue that culture of like making a statement, have that expression of your brand. We need that to come out versus just a price war and discounting. And so those are the things that we're keeping an eye on. And I feel like tailwinds are stronger than the headwinds. But again, I'm super paranoid. And we plan for the best. I mean, hope for the best, plan for the best, and then we also plan for the worst at the same time.
You talk a lot about consumer culture, but I'm kind of curious about your perspective on the culture at Timberland that's so dedicated to giving back and social responsibility. I mean, I've been following Timberland for many, many years, and that's just part of your part of what you guys do, and do it really well, and the communities around you that you serve really look at Timberland as like one of those companies that's really true and authentic in that zone. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I'll give my POV of this, just being here for 9 months. We are based in Stratton, New Hampshire. And if you look at the community that we're part of, it's New Hampshire's motto is live free or die, right? And there is a community feel that exists here. It's roll up your sleeves and get stuff done, right? There's a blue collar mentality to approaching everything. There is no. There is, hey, we'll get it done. When we get the time, we'll get it done. We'll just go and get this done, no problem. And inside the building, that stays true. We have a shed. There's a space here called the shed. Out here, we have 2 or 3 boot makers, and they sit here. They actually play with boots, and they look at it. And there's craftsmanship done right here. I can walk downstairs and be like, "Hey, man, I got an idea," and we'll sit down and work through it. I think that mentality of service and community is really embedded in culture here overall, just in Timberland overall, and probably one of the strongest I've seen from the places I've worked at, because it's a small knit community, and the brand has been exported through culture around the world. So that service mentality stays no matter where you go. Whether it was Hurricane Katrina, the stories I've heard was in Hurricane Katrina, the team was on the ground there at that time when it hit, and they found communities that didn't have footwear, and they left pairs of boots for them and walked back home barefooted. Or they were around working in daycares, and I believe daycares and gardens, city gardens, when 9/11 happened. And that's an anniversary we keep doing. It's not something we express. We don't use it as a PR moment. There's not like hey, we're being involved in this, now love us. It's just kind of subtle. It's part of who we are. And they don't show off. They don't talk about the services they do. They don't talk about the investments they do in schooling and craftsmanship and stuff like that. It's just behind the scenes mostly, which is, I think, real magic in the culture. It's fun to see, tell you the truth.
No, it's really fun. There's an authenticity to it, which I think is commendable, because you're right. It's not, you have to kind of dig to find where you guys are doing the good work. And, humility and a brand as big as Timberland is probably hard to come by, but it sounds like it's built into your culture and into your DNA.
Yeah. It's, again, kind of like, of course we're here to help versus like, what do you mean it's so great we're helping? Of course we're here to help. And it's a very different kind of way of approaching things, which I think comes across even in the product you see and in the way we serve, right, in the communities, which is great.
Let me shift gears away from philanthropic and more to something that caught my eye recently. I'm the father of 3 teenage daughters, as everyone knows. I'm very proud of that. And we go to Aerie like every other day, I think. And I just stand there and kind of hold the bag and put down the credit card or whatever. But oftentimes the Aeries are connected to the American Eagles. And so I kind of drift over there in my boredom in the Aerie section, and boom, there, Timberland and American Eagle collab on the apparel side. Talk to me about how that came about, and what's the thinking about engaging with another retailer and creating this kind of cross-pollination between these two iconic brands, particularly with young people?
Yeah, if you think about Americana, it's American Eagle and Timberlands, right? Like, you think about the denim, you think about your jackets, and you think about your Tims. I mean, that's how it all kind of comes together. And I think that's where the impetus of the project really started. They reached out to us saying like, hey, look, we're great in apparel. You guys are great in footwear. Why don't we just merge together and find that perfect sweet spot about where iconic styles come together, and we can benefit from this, and we can serve our consumers what they want. And so it was a visit out here. We took them out to Stabio, which is in Switzerland, and they got a chance to actually go through our archives, and they found a lot of apparel that we have done in the past, and they put their American Eagle spin on it. And brought it to the market, and we gave our footwear as well. So we made customized footwear for them that they could sell. We put a partnership together, and we launched in market for 3 drops over fall, which were received amazingly well. And so I think that's a great way for us to shock the market a little bit, bring something a little unexpected, and then again, the merger of like iconic synergy is the way for us to move forward. So. I don't want to share too much, but sure. I think this is a great strategic direction for us to pursue in the future, where it benefits all brands, right? Benefits the brands and benefits the consumer.
I mean, Sandy, I don't know about you, but if Gautham invited us to Switzerland to kind of check out the archives, I would agree to just about anything, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I have my limits, but they kind of wash away if I'm hanging out in Switzerland.
I'd be down.
It's a good sell. Yeah. Well, I invited you guys to come up to Stratham. It's okay.
I would love to. Second best, right?
So it's kind of like Wisconsin, a lot of snow and beer, right? So let's do it.
That's your track record, Gautham. I'm like, okay, where are you going next? Like, where's snow and beer? That's the.
I was checking out that premium, the super boot, and wondering if that's a women's style also. The one that you just showed us. That's a really cool one.
Yeah, it's worn by both genders. And it's a winner for us. We sold out. I think we sold out, and we almost sold out within a weekend.
Yeah. So inventory.
it
Yeah.
is high
We need to
demand.
work on the inventory for 2026. Are you, what's happening?
Well, you're going to
we're
be
in-
fast.
Yeah, faster. We're in the market now. We're trade show season, selling season for 2026. What do we have to look forward to for 2026 besides
There's
something?
we'll continue to hit on our icon, right? So our icon's really, really important. We're working on comfort. We're making it more lightweight. And there's some cool product coming down that way. But there's a lot of franchises that we're going after. So we're known for the yellow boot, but we actually do a lot more than that, right? So we do have I have a whole bunch of product I can show. But we do have our field boot that's out there, which is really great. We have our more formal boots or more casual lifestyle boots, which are like our boat shoe or our 3-eye lugs. If you ever wear those are really great.
Now, are you influencing the formal ones, Gautham, for your next wedding or what? Next thing you got to do or have to dress up? Or
no, man, I'm going to wear Timberland Pro boots. Coming through the steel tip.
Yeah, prepared for anything.
Yeah. And actually, we don't talk much about the pro side of the business. And so the pro side is just about as big as the tree side of the business, which is the fashion side. But our pro side, those guys are engineers, man. Like you're talking about, they lead with a lot of innovation around footwear safety. Innovation and comfort is where it's at. And there's some really amazing footwear that they create and serve a very growing need in this industry where there's a huge amount of spending on infrastructure, construction, manufacturing, where safety is required. And I'd say these guys are best in class. So there's some cool footwear there as well.
That's awesome. That's
footwear.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Gautham, I can't thank you enough for your willingness to come out and hang out with us at Shoe and Show and talk about what's going on in Timberland, such an iconic brand in the footwear family, if you will, and sharing your shoe story. It's super unique. We've heard a lot of shoe stories in this program over 9 years, and yours is top 3 most unique. And so
thank you.
To you, man. Really congrats to you making the move here and then finding your way and just having a passion for a brand and then going out and working for the brand. That's kind of the American dream in my mind. So appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us.
Thank you guys for having me and being doing everything you guys do. So thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And he's joining the board. I didn't mean to interrupt, Sandy, but Gautham's joining the FDRA board. We're very excited about that.
Of course he is. Gautham, will you send us the picture of you at that family gathering?
That's a definite no.
Really?
I will show that under the pretense of beer and snow.
It's in the archives in Switzerland. Is that where it's locked down?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's hilarious. It'll be on your LinkedIn profile before we know it.
Oh, no.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching and hanging out with us and listening to our conversation with Gautham. We really appreciate it. We've obviously loved to have great leaders in the industry to come and share their shoe stories, but also how they're positive and paranoid or paranoid and positive, depending on your – I'm a positive first, then paranoid guy.
Probably right.
Some people might be flipped. Nevertheless, we're super grateful that you're listening to these conversations and you're part of it. Make sure you go to shoeandshow.com for all of our great episodes and the catalog that stretches back to 2016. And if you have an idea about the show, reach out to us. There's a note there on the Shoe and Show website where you can leave a voice memo. If it's cool enough, we might even play it on the program, or you can drop us a note at info@fdra.org. Until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.